Mary Catherine Casper in her religious habit. It is easy to recognize her strength of will in her picture. Her expression is serious. A person had to be very still when photographed with the big daguerreotype camera. One had to maintain a serious pose. Photos of other women from this same time and from the region where Catherine Casper lived show this to be true. The photos also clearly show how the religious habit Catherine Casper chose was closely related to the clothing style of the women of her day. Catherine Casper was born in this house in Dernbach in the Westerwald in the year 1820. For her 7 siblings and parents, it was an unpretentious life. Many families suffered hunger in the harsh Westerwald. The harvests from their own farmlands were small, and there was not much work for pay. The children had to begin early on to weave at the looms and to work in the fields. In school, Catherine was often praised for her hard work by her teachers, who recognized and affirmed her giftedness, although she was so physically weak that she missed school often. Religion was her favorite subject. She enthusiastically learned to read. Already as a schoolgirl, it was easy to recognize a characteristic trait that would stand out in her entire later life: her compassion for others in need. An early example is that she shared the bread she had brought for the lunch break with another schoolgirl, who was even poorer than she and who had nothing to eat. When the father of the family died in 1842, the parental home had to be put on sale at auction. Catherine worked as a day laborer doing farm work, which provided some relief for her mother. Catherine also took over her mother's responsibility for unpaid voluntary work in the community. It was hard work. In order to make a solid foundation for the streets, she had to use a hammer to break large basalt boulders into small pieces. Poverty was so great for many families in the time of the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century that many saw no other way out of their misery than to emigrate. In contrast to photographers, artists captured better Catherine Casper's openness, love, and care. It is symbolic that she is portrayed with open arms. The poverty of many mothers and children, of elderly and sick people, was more than the deeply religious Catherine Casper could bear. She couldn't just look on without doing something. Very quickly, she found women who followed her example. Catherine Casper founded a religious charitable organization in order to create a small community. As early as 1848, she moved into a small house in Dernbach with 5 women. There she also took in children who had no home. The community grew quickly. The first drafts of a rule, which Catherine Casper composed, provided a framework for communal life. The request for sisters from parishes was great. Convents were founded in many places. Only 17 years after the foundation of the community, Catherine Casper was able to send 8 sisters to the USA to minister to German immigrants. Many handwritten letters show how she accompanied her sisters in loving concern. They express her interest, and how she affirmed them and gave them courage. Mary Catherine Casper, as the superior of the community, also lived energetically her goal-directed life further in service to the gospel, in humility and modesty, and with joy and humor, although not when it was at the expense of others. Her frequently repaired shoes, her self-knit and often darned socks, and her worn-out house shoes are preserved witnesses to her simple way of life. Dernbach, the birthplace of Catherine Casper, counts today more than 2,500 residents. There is not enough room on this sign for the names of all the numerous institutions of the community of Dernbach sisters at this place of their founding. The center of the community is the Mother House with the chapel. The tall construction of the Sacred Heart Hospital, The clinic of the sisters on the edge of Dernbach is visible from far away. From the hospital, one's gaze roams over meadows and fields to a small chapel in the shade of tall old trees. As early as the 17th century, it is mentioned in an inscription, as is a small spring that is said to have healing properties. This chapel, that is about a 15-minute walk from the village, was visited frequently by Catherine Kasper from her childhood on into advanced age. She was often accompanied on this short pilgrimage by children from the village. She often prayed in this Heilbronn chapel for strength and invoked the intercession of Mary. Mary helped. Expressions of gratitude for many answered prayers. The light that Catherine Kasper sparked in Dernbach came to full brilliance in only a few decades. When she died in 1898, 1,725 sisters were working in 193 convents. Until today, this light is passed on within the community from the older sisters to the younger ones. They wish for each other the healing effects of the water of the Heilbronn spring. The young sisters and those sisters who have become gray-haired in the fulfillment of their option for the poor make the sign of the cross on each other's forehead with the Heilbronn water. School children visit the Heilbronn chapel. For them, it is also an encounter with the foundress of the congregation. Catherine Kasper prayed very much. Since the 16th century, the people pray here very, very much, and she became aware of something at this very place. I will call my community poor handmaids of Jesus Christ. Mary Catherine Kasper was proclaimed blessed by Pope Paul VI in Rome in April 1978. Since then, the mortal remains of Blessed Mary Catherine rest in a shrine under the altar in the apsis of the convent church. A visit to the resting place of the foundress is a deeply emotional and moving experience for the young sisters from the most diverse parts of the world who come to the mother house of the congregation in Dernbach. A song of joy is a sign of their devotion to the foundress of their community and binds them with one another. The outstretched arms of Catherine Kasper enclose all, both young and old, within a community that has stood the test of time and has perspectives for the future. The following scenes convey an impression of the diverse areas of ministry in which the sisters are actively involved in the spirit of Catherine Kasper. They are not afraid of touching others where those sick with leprosy or AIDS or the drug addicted are concerned. Whether in the outskirts of Chicago or in the Netherlands, they support immigrants in their integration into society or help Afro-American women in difficult situations with the solution of their problems, even to supporting them legally. The sisters, loving care and affirmation are the keys to success in learning.
Hey, very good.
Without an education, poverty becomes a perpetual situation for children in the slums. The sisters offer a solid education to Adivasi girls in India, as well as to girls from the interior of Brazil, in order to improve their possibilities for life within male-dominated societies. Today there are more than 700 sisters in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and South America, and in the USA and Europe, who follow the foundress of the congregation and who work on behalf of the weak, the sick, and the disadvantaged.
I think something like that. Yeah, I remember.
These scenes also give examples of how the women religious seek strength for their work in liturgical services, in prayer, and in meditation. Searching for the roots, where is Dernbach?
En esses 23 kilometers de Dernbach aan den
The sisters are part of the continuation of the vision of their foundress, Catherine Kasper, life for God as option for the poor.